Hi, in this video I will demonstrate how you can generate a business idea and build a prototype product using InfraNodus and Windsurf AI. I will be using my own idea as an example. It's actually a tool which I built using Windsurf in just a few hours, and I needed it for myself. It's a calculator of lifetime customer value and also a predictor of revenue. The other tools that exist out there are not precise enough, and this tool has an explanation of why it's precise. And I actually made it using Windsurf AI that I'm going to also demonstrate in this video later for my own SaaS tool, InfraNodus, that you can see right now on the screen. InfraNodus is a visual AI text analysis tool. And once I made it, I put it online, and then I'm facing this issue. Do I want to develop it further? Do I want to make it available to others in more interesting ways? And what I need to do now is to develop this idea further and to validate it. And this is what we're going to use InfraNodus for. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can validate some business idea for how to develop this further, and also how you can then use Windsurf AI, which is available here, to actually build something from scratch. And I'm going to do this in real time. So stay with this video if you want to learn more, and also please subscribe so that this channel can get recommended to other people interested in the same content. So let's begin. In order to start, we need to validate the idea. So we go to the apps page of InfraNodus and we choose the Study a Market app. And what we want to do now is to understand if there is demand for this kind of tools, SaaS tools, and also what people are actually thinking about when they search for them, because this will inform our ideas on how to develop it further. So we will choose the Informational Demand tab, and we will choose the app that's called Related Search Queries. And what it does is that it imports related search queries from Google for the query that you specify, and helps you identify the context around it. So here I'm going to say, okay, I want to search for SaaS tools. Oh, let's actually start from SaaS, and we'll use English, USA, and we'll import search phrases from related queries. We're going to click Visualize, and what InfraNodus does is that it imports those related search queries, visualizes them as a graph with the words that people use when they search for SaaS are the nodes in the graph, and the co-occurrences are the connections. Based on this, we can identify which words are more important because they connect different topics together, like in this case, business. It appears with a lot of other words, so that's why it's bigger. And also, if the nodes have the same color, it means they belong to the same cluster. So you get really precise contextual information on the combinations of words that people use. And you don't have to scroll through all those stupid tables, but you can just see the graph and very clearly understand what people are actually interested in. So for example, here I see that when they search for SaaS, they search for business ideas. So if I want to attract people interested in SaaS, I need to mention business ideas. I'm probably going to do this in the description to this video or in the name to this video, so you can easily find it on Google or on YouTube. So I'm going to save this into my notes. I can click here and then it saves it into notes, and I can use it for future reference. But now I want to develop it a little bit further. So I will add some more search queries and related search queries that are more specific to my product. So as I said already, it's a SaaS tool. So I'm going to add SaaS tools and see what people search for when they search for SaaS tools. Let's see what comes up. So for example, here I see that a lot of them search for management, project management actually. So that's interesting because I didn't think about that before. I'm going to save this into my notes. So I see that they're searching for business ideas. They're searching for project management. They're also searching for company lists, so I'm going to save this. And by the way, if I click on the search terms in the graph, I can see in which context they actually appear. So I see that they search for SaaS companies list, B2B SaaS companies list. So probably if I want to promote this tool, I also need to make a page on it where I would be describing it, what kind of tools exist out there and so on. So that would attract people who search for that. And then let's see if there's anything else. I think that's it. So let's add some more stuff. As you could see, it's also an analytical tool because it helps me analyze my churn, retention, and shows me how many customers I'm going to keep. So I'm also going to type in SaaS analytics to see what exists out there on that subject. And I'm going to import more results into this graph. And as you can see, the word tool it's quite prominent, so I'm going to hide it because I want to see the context around it. I know that when people search for SaaS tools, they will obviously use the word tool, so I don't need it. I just want to see what else people are searching for. And I can see here that Mixpanel and Google are quite big, so I'm going to save them also because these are the two main tools that people use for analytics. And probably I need to build some kind of integration with them if I want to make it easier for people to use my calculators. And also dashboard. And I see that they search for dashboard Google. I can see here Google Analytics dashboard. That's not so interesting, but what's interesting is if I click dashboard, I can also see here template. So they also search for analytics dashboard template. So I'm going to save this as well because that's quite important. Like people also need to find templates. And in fact, if I click here and then I go on keyword relations, I can see what else it's connected to. So it's quite easy. In fact, I can see also here Excel is another word that people use. So people need also Excel templates. That's interesting. Gonna save this. And then you can just go along in a few iterations. So that might take you some time, but I'm going to stop here for the sake of making this video short. But in fact, you could develop these ideas further, import more search queries, and also use other sources like AdWords, because then it becomes a little bit more general and it really gives you a good picture of what's happening in the minds of your potential customers when they search for your product. So that's a really great tool to understand what's going on there, what the informational demand is. Okay, let's move on. Now that we have a list of ideas here, we need to generate something from them. So I'm going to add here SaaS tools and SaaS analytics because that's what we started from. Gonna click save, and then I'm going to ask the built-in AI to generate a summary of those nodes. So here it says that the text highlights various SaaS tools and analytics, emphasizing business idea focused on project management. It mentions a list of companies along with tools like Mixpanel and Google, includes references to dashboard templates in both general and Excel format. Here it's another generation. So let's see if we generate something that's interesting for us as a business idea. Connects concepts like business ideas, collaboration, software, emphasizing platforms. Okay, so let's take this idea, something where it's talking about templates, right? So here we had something about templates, dashboard templates, Mixpanel and Google, and then we click on elaborate, and then we ask, so we can describe here to InfraNodus what we actually wanted to do with this. And here we say generate a business idea based on that, and then we click chat, and then it's going to take that summary, the instruction, and generate a business idea. And we're going to paste this business idea into Windsurf AI and generate a product that I can then integrate into my existing one. So that's what we're going to do. Here it says explore a SaaS platform that integrates analytics tools with project management for small to medium businesses, focusing on collaboration and dashboard customization. It could uniquely cater to industries less familiar with data-driven strategies, using AI for personalized insights and automated reporting directly linked to business outcomes. Sounds great. So I'm just going to edit it a little bit, and then I'm going to copy this business idea. And now we go to the second part of our presentation, me building this with Windsurf AI. In fact, as I said already, I built this with Windsurf AI in just a few hours, but now I'm going to build a continuation of this tool, right? So let's see how that works. To begin, we open Windsurf and we open a new folder. So I'm gonna save it here. I'm gonna call it SaaS, and it's going to open a new window here. And then what you can do is to open what's called cascade in Windsurf, where you can actually interact with the tool and tell it what to do. And what we do is that we just paste our business idea here, and I say create a simple landing page, because I want to start simple. I don't want it to try to create a whole SaaS platform from the beginning. For a SaaS platform that integrates analytic tools with project management and so on. And then I also need to describe the tech stack that I wanted to use. So what are the technologies that are going to be there? So I'm going to say use React and next JS. No databases, just to make it simple, because otherwise it's going to try to do too much too fast. So you need to limit it at the beginning. And here you need to choose write so that it starts to create the structure for you. And then when you click enter, Windsurf is going to tell you what it's doing, and it's going to create a whole project structure for you. So it's also a great way to learn programming. If you haven't done it yet, don't be afraid. You can always follow the instructions, and also it kind of helps you understand how this whole thing works, and you can gradually start doing more and more yourself. So here it says that, okay, you need to run this command. So do you accept? Yes. But here you see it cannot run it, and that's great because you can always fix the errors inside. So it understands, okay, so you need to install Node.js. So I say, okay, Node.js is already installed, because that's true. So it's creating a package JSON now. So you see it's kind of like, it might run into a few errors, and it's great it's happening in a demonstration, because I'm just showing to you that even if you run into some errors, you can easily fix them by further prompts. And it's starting to create the project structure for you. So it created the package JSON file with all the dependencies, a Tailwind file that's for the styles, and then Tailwind JSON, that's some other instructions, and then the actual project here. So you are actually witnessing how a web project is being created, and it's great. If you're not a developer, as I said, it's a great way to learn, and if you're a developer, then you just kind of delegate it to this tool. Of course, you wouldn't use it for something that you would then later put into production, because you really want to create your own stack that you trust, that you're used to. But to make a prototype quick, especially if you don't have technical skills, I think it's great. And you can also use other tools like Bolt AI, for example, that I talked about in my last video. But this one is also pretty cool, and I actually like much more what it built. So here, install the dependencies. So I'm going to copy this command, and then I will open terminal, and I'm going to run it here. So it's going to install all the dependencies. And if you don't know how to code, don't worry, just follow the instructions that it gives you. And if it runs into any errors, it's going to tell you that it ran into an error, and it's going to fix it. So here it says that it's unsupportable engine. So let's see, Node version. Okay, so why doesn't it want to use this? I think we can just paste this inside and ask it to fix this for us. So I'm just copying the error and pasting it here. And it understands now that it did something in the package JSON file that needs to be fixed. So it reduced the version number, and now it's great. Now we can use it. Okay, so let's try it again. Run npm install. Now it's installing all the dependencies. That's great. And let's now follow the next instruction and run the development server. So here it's running the server. Let's reload this page and see what it has to offer. Okay, so it says there's something that's not working. So you just copy and paste what is happening here. In fact, this error in itself. And then we go back to Windsurf, paste it here, and see what it can do for us. So here it did some fixes. Now I just run the commands that it proposes me. And let's see if it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna type it here, cleaning the cache, installing dependencies once again. Once the dependencies are installed, we run the whole thing again. So let's see how it looks and if it works. So you see now it's encountering some more errors, so it's going to fix them. Let's add them here, copying and pasting the errors. So that's going to happen, and it's okay, but after a few iterations it's going to build a project and it's going to start working. So let's see to make it happen. Okay, so we accept everything, all the changes, and then we run the command again after it made some changes, and we reload the page. So you see we already have something here, right? But the design looks a bit funny. So we need to tell it the design doesn't look right. Fix it. So here it's adding additional configuration files that would enable it to work much better. And as you can see, the good thing is that you can interact with it using human language, which is great. Okay, so let's see how that works. Okay, we have a whole website landing page ready, which is great. Now let's start iterating. So here it says transform your business with AI-powered analytics, start free trial, watch demo, and so on. So for example, if I click start free trial, what happens here? Perhaps we need to add something to that page. So we say that, okay, when the user clicks start free trial, you need to bring them to a login page. And later you can attach a login system to it. So for example, the great thing about this is that you can tell it which login system to use, and then it's going to attach it to that login system automatically, which is amazing. Okay, so I load the whole thing again, and then we have a login page here. So that's great, we already have something, and then we can go back to the original page. Now, if you wanted to attach a login system here, you could explain to it that you want to use an existing one, and you can even paste the description of the API of the login system so it builds it for you. But let's go a little bit further and try to get into the detail of how this tool works. So for example, we have this button Get Started Now. So I will tell it now. When the user clicks on Get Started Now, open a new page where they can connect to their Mixpanel account and get the user retention data. And let's see if it can manage. In the meanwhile, let's look at the page. So for example, here it says the features that drive growth, AI-powered insights, custom dashboards, team collaboration. So all the things that we had in our original idea are now transformed into a neat landing page, which can of course be improved, but that's already a good beginning. Let's go back, see what else it's creating. So it's telling you that, okay, it's editing the package file. It's also adding a new page for Mixpanel integration, and then it's going to explain to us how it works. And by the way, in the meanwhile, for instance, if you need some data from some external service, you could type in Mixpanel and then API retention and find the link if there is anything. So for example, here you see it already has retention information here. So you can just give this link to Windsurf AI, and if it cannot find an explanation of how this API works, then you can just paste the link here and it's going to browse it and generate it for you. But here we again have the landing page, we have the button Getting Started Now, and when we click here, another error. So I write, when I click on the button, I get this error. Probably some import stuff. Yeah, I need to run the npm install. So I'm gonna do that. Npm install. Actually, don't know why it doesn't run it itself, but it's okay. We can do it without it. So let's see. Now it installed it. And now npm run dev again, that we used originally to run this. Okay, so here it says again this, okay, now it's working. So we have this page, connect Mixpanel account. So now I'm going to type in to enter my Mixpanel ID and see if it works. Okay, so let's type something in. Let's imagine that we have some fake stuff here, connect to Mixpanel. What happens is that it generates a graph with the user retention. And we can then use this data for this calculator and, for example, get some data on the retention integrated into LTV calculator, and the user will just be able to connect to their existing analytical tool and get the insights that I already provide, and on top of that get some other easy dashboard insights that will be really interesting for them. So that's really great. One last thing I want to show is that if I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper into it, if I want to understand where in the code this is happening. So for example, if I want to use real data for it, I'm going to see enter your Mixpanel project ID. So I'm going to back to Windsurf and I'm going to search for enter your Mixpanel project ID. So I'm trying to find the place inside where it's actually happening here, right? And then I look what is the function on submit of this form, what's the function that's going to use. And by the way, if I don't know how to program, I can just select it and ask the cascade. So I need to switch it into chat mode and say which function processes this input, right? So this is how I'm going to try to then build an integration, a real integration with Mixpanel here. So it's showing me the function. In the current file, there is this function, and it's explaining to me what this function does and how it works. So then I'm going to be like, okay, can you then create the connection to Mixpanel API and build the graph based on the real data. Okay, let's see if it can do that. I'm just going to try to run it to the impossibility because it already created quite a lot. We already have a landing, we already have a scaffolding for how the service is going to look like, which I find is pretty amazing, but let's see if it can do more. So, okay, it says that there is an error, it's fixing the error, generating some new file, so probably it's going to create a new file, install the dependencies. So it's asking me some questions. Package manager, npm package manager, because we're already using it. I have a Mixpanel account. Use the same charting library. Just connect to Mixpanel. So you see, you're kind of like talking to a very junior developer here, and it's great because it's going to do the job for you. And what I also like is that you're really learning, if you don't know how to code, how coding actually works, and gradually you would be able to do this much faster because you will be able to do some things yourself, and you would also be able to give clearer instructions to it. So that's pretty amazing. So as you can see, it created some changes for us. Let's apply them to this. So we're going to accept those changes. And then there is another one here. And it also changed something here. So it's already using the real Mixpanel API, which is amazing. And now it's just telling us install the browser, but I don't even think it's necessary. Let's try to use it with my real Mixpanel data and see if it works. So I'm going to actually, like you see, if I forget here how to run it, I can just ask it how to run this app. So you don't need to remember anything. You can just ask it how to run this app, run dev. So that's great. You see, just go to terminal, go to this folder, run dev. Okay, so I run it. Okay, let's see if it's going to work with the real data now. So I'm going to put some fake ones. Let's see if it's going to connect. Nothing. Okay, now I'm going to take my real data, project ID. Now it made all the changes. And let's try it again. So we're going to reload this page. Project ID. API secret. And here is the error that we're getting. So I will add it here. And let's see how it can fix it. Okay, so let's try it again. It compiled it again. We use the same project ID and the API key. Invalid response structure. So now we can go back to the terminal here. Okay, so it was giving me errors, and therefore I went to check how their API works. So I just searched for this in Chrome and found the page where it describes actually how this whole API works. compared the request that it's making here to the request that it's making in the tool, and realized that it needed to erase some stuff here. So I added retention type and removed 2 parameters, which were the events that it was analyzing for. Now it's going to analyze for all the events. So once I did that, I can go back to the tool and try to run it again with the project ID and the API key. And now I go connect Mixpanel, and we have the retention. The percentage rate is not right, but this is probably because it's not processing the data correctly. This I can fix later. So I can even go back to Windsurf and say, okay, now the connection works, but your percentage data in the graph is not right. It's at 17,000%. Fix. So we're going to ask it to fix. In the meanwhile, we'll wait and see what happens when it's doing that. So it's editing the route, adding some different ways of treating data, I think. Multiplication by 100 is removed. So now let's try to run it again and see what's going to happen. So I'm going to reload this page and then go to, and then copy my API key and the project ID. Click Save. And now we have some retention data here. I think again we need to change the logic, but it's approaching the result. So you see I provided it an explanation of what it needs to fix, made the changes, and let's now see if it's going to be more or less correct. So I will go back here, project ID, API key, and let's see what happens. Okay, now we're good. Now we have a graph of retention day to day, and we can use this data later with the calculator that I created and automatically feed the data from Mixpanel into this calculator and calculate lifetime value of a customer, the revenue the person is going to get, and so on. And then gradually integrating more and more tools to help people analyze information. So that's how it works. I hope you find it useful. Just for a recap, we analyzed the current informational demand using InfraNodus, generated a business idea based on the keywords that we found that people use when they search for SaaS tools. We wanted to integrate more functionality into the tool that I already created with Windsurf AI. So I went into Windsurf AI, added some stuff. We went through a few iterations, fixing errors, giving it a very simple instruction. And as a result, we have a tool like this, which basically shows us, how we can build this tool further. And it has a landing page with that kind of takes the main idea of this pitch that we created using InfraNodus. And then when we click here, we can integrate it with Mixpanel and get the retention data. And then later I will program to integrate it into this calculator. So try it out, let me know what you think, and I hope you find this video interesting. Thank you.